Welcome back to episode 51 of Establish the Collection. I am your host, Cody Main, joined as always by Gary Hartman. Gary, we're recording fresh off of a wild week one of NFL preseason action, a Tuesday afternoon before we dive into week two that is bound to be hectic. This is your first year of true NFL preseason grinding. How are you feeling, buddy, after week one?
Yeah, I was just telling you right before we went on, preseason paradise over here. I'm loving it. It's you know what, like I'm not even being facetious when I say it. Like it's a total grind. We're dealing with 90-man rosters, like literally grinding any little tidbit of news we can get from the seventh best beat reporter out of the Minnesota Vikings or whatever. But like it is for people that love the NFL and love football like we do. And like my whole life, I've just wanted to have a career where I get to do something with the NFL or fantasy sports or whatever. And like there's worse things to grind and throw all your effort into. And at the end, it's 3 weeks. So I'm having a good time. We're about to pop off into week two tomorrow. And I appreciate you having me on the team. We're, a lot of success for our subscribers so far too. So.
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking about it as we were talking about this off air. This is much more of a sprint than a marathon. I feel like the USFL season and grinding the USFL streets for 12 plus weeks was very much a marathon. And I was tired as hell by the end of it. And this has got me a little worn down already through week one, but I'm telling you what, this is much easier to get through this sprint than a 12-week season. So bring on the preseason. I feel like we're learning a lot about these players, about these depth charts and how these teams shake out. And I think we can kind of apply that knowledge to the collectibles world as well.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in between. Like I was listening to Adam and Evan last night on the new ETR flagship pod, and they're talking about how they get a lot out of preseason, and from a takeaway standpoint, and they're not saying it's like the end all be all. And they understand people that, like, from a win-loss perspective, obviously we don't care. But from a certain takeaways and depth charts and who coaches are liking or not liking, there's something to take away. And I agree with that to a certain extent. So I do think that there are lessons to be learned here. And also it's just a great way, just like best ball is, but like this particularly, of just like getting myself in the mindset of like large field tournaments, DFS, football in general, and just kind of honing all my skills. So it's been fun. I'm looking forward to week two, kicking off with, we'll do a show Thursday, Friday, Saturday if you're a subscriber to the preseason DFS package, which honestly I think it would have paid for itself with our success last week, but would more than welcome to join you if you're a degenerate that likes that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I have definitely donated to a handful of you ETR preseason subscribers. That is for sure. I am down on the preseason to start through week one, hoping to kind of right the ship in week two. But as long as you guys are winning, I will continue to remain happy. And we will continue to talk about football, as Gary alluded to on last week's show. We're going to keep this very football focused as we head into kickoff. I think that's obviously top of mind for everybody. There's some NBA news stuff and obviously MLB stuff still happening in the background, but it certainly feels like football is here, and football is here to stay, at least for the time being. We are, however, going to shift our focus a little bit and start talking NFT with NFL All Day today, as we attempt to identify some of the most undervalued moments in that market. Not a market that Gary and I have always kept up on 100%. There looked to be, just looking back through some recent sales, there looked to be a bottom this summer that he and I may have missed out on, but I still think there's some opportunities over on NFL All Day to find some cards and some, I guess, moments in this case that are undervalued. As always, when we talk Dapper products, when we talk NBA Top Shot or UFC Strike or NFL All Day, we're bringing a ton of great data to the conversation, mostly from our friends at Own the Moment. Justin and his team have done an amazing job to make it really easy for all of us to analyze, like I said, Top Shot, All Day, UFC Strike, anywhere in between. And, similarly to the way that we use Card Ladder when we're talking about the physical stuff, I think OTM does a really good job of getting us prepared to make smart purchases and sales with the NFT space. So, the goal of today's show is really just to identify the moments that Gary and I think have the highest potential to increase in value throughout the course of whether it be this season or even longer term, looking more broadly into the future. We'll talk through a variety of positions, price points, et cetera, et cetera. So Gary, with all of that out of the way, I assume you came prepared. I'll give you the floor and allow you to tell me your first most undervalued or your favorite value on NFL All Day.
Yeah, okay. We got to start where then you know where we're going, because we had spoken a little bit about it here. I'm actually going to try to share my screen. But we got to start with one guy, and a guy we've been talking about all offseason as well. But if you're watching on YouTube right now, you can kind of see NFL All Day. There's one Trevor Lawrence moment out there that when Cody and I were doing a little prep for the show really stood out. And that is the Series 1, his 3 badge, so rookie year, first moment, minted in the rookie year, and a rookie moment. 3 badge rare Series 1 launch codes out of 899. So there is a legendary out of 49, but a rare out of 899. So mint count is in check for $870 lowest ask. And when we looked around, similar 3 badge or similar level of rookies in that similar range, this one just really stood out as a buy for us right now. I think this is a moment that should easily always be sitting around 4 figures or more. And I think the second that he has any success on the field that we're expecting for him to have this year, this goes up quite a bit. And even if you see the average sale there for 780, we obviously missed that as we were not speaking about all day over the last month or so, but there's definitely room here for this moment. So I think it's a smash for going into the season. And Cody, I know you agree with me.
Yeah, I mean, boy, I cannot agree more with the Trevor Lawrence moment. And one thing that we'll kind of get into, which will be a theme of, this show and some of the buys that we're discussing this week, is that there's a variety of mint counts, mint runs for these NFL all-day rookie quarterbacks. They range anywhere from 49 with the guy that we'll get into next as my most undervalued moment on the site, all the way up to 10,000 for somebody like Mac Jones. So his debut moment on the site, minted out of 899. There will never be more than 899 of these. And I just kind of think through that intuitively and thinking through like how I would relate this to something like the physical streets with Panini Prism. If I told you there were only 899 Prism cards for Trevor Lawrence in the entire set, right? That would be a sought after moment if you compared it to 10,000 for Mac Jones or 10,000 for Justin Fields or 8,000 for Davis Mills. And that's kind of the situation here that we have with NFL all day. Call it a mistake, call it whatever you want, but the situation remains that the rookie debut moments are not created equal in this situation. And Trevor Lawrence, his moment happens to be one of the lowest minted of any of the NFL rookie quarterbacks from last year. So I love that from the very beginning. It does look like there happened to be a bottom sometime this summer. I am utterly upset with ourselves for missing this as we talk about NFL so much, but it looked like it did dip to around $600 in May for quite a while. So we really could have got our hands on this thing really, really cheap this summer. But as you mentioned, as soon as he shows any level of success on the field, I think this thing is going to skyrocket. And that honestly, we've seen the reactions to the preseason so far in best ball and in regular season-long drafts. I think that as soon as he shows any level of success on the field, this could skyrocket, and it might happen this week as his Jaguars starters are expected to play well into the second quarter. If he throws up 2 touchdowns this weekend, man, you could really see this thing start to pop off. And there aren't too many listed around the floor, so this thing could really make a run, I think, quickly. And if it doesn't, I think it's got legs long term too. So it really checks a lot of boxes for me.
Yeah, and obviously, as we mentioned, a bummer to miss that bottom. But if you look at all the recent sales here, everything in August really between $800 and $1,000, basically $850 and $1,000, depending on what kind of cereal. But mostly kind of hovering around that $900 range. It's been steady a little bit around this mark as we enter preseason. But I'm with Cody. The second that I think he hits the field, I think this thing has time to go up. And you hit the nail on the head for me when you kind of compare it to a pop count, right? Like we would salivate over a 900 pop count on a Trevor Lawrence PSA 10 with ultra modern type stuff, especially if it were a refractor, which I'm going to consider this rare to be, right? So, it's the same thing we're talking about with the Lamar Jackson card that we're after right now. That's a pop count of 500 or whatever. Yeah, and that might be a base, but that's the kind of pop count that we're looking for. This is even more appeal with that rare, status or whatever justification, the rare that it is. So yeah, classification rather. I'm all in on this one. I think we'll talk about investing a little bit into some of these types of things, and obviously, if you had the money for the legendary type of one, also I think that's interesting. But this card is our moment is definitely one to look for. What's for you first? I can get it up on the screen here.
Yes. Speaking of legendary and speaking of these 2021 rookie quarterbacks, I got to go to Trey Lance, who obviously is a guy that we talked about last week. So no surprises here. Hopefully making a joint investment with Gary on, a color match red Prism refractor, if we can find get our hands on one. But, you probably look at this moment and you're thinking, Cody, this moment is $8,200. It's one of the most expensive moments on the NFL All Day platform right now, and you would be correct. If you wanted to get your hands on this, you would have to drop $8,200 for the low ask on this right now. And I don't have 8,200 Dapper Bucks right now to drop on this moment. I really wish I did, because I think this moment has the highest potential out of any single one moment on this entire platform. And I think I've mentioned that in the past when this moment first came out. If you see there on Gary's screen, if you're following along on YouTube, this is minted out of 49. This is the situation that I'm talking about. They a mistake or whatever happened with All Day with Dapper. Mac Jones's rookie debut is minted out of 10,000. Davis Mills' rookie debut is minted out of 8,000. Zach Wilson's is minted out of 8,000. You just saw Trevor Lawrence's is minted out of 899. Trey Lance is the only NFL rookie quarterback from last year who has his debut, all-day debut moment minted out of 49. Doesn't make any sense to me. But what I see when I see this, if Trey Lance happens to become what we all hope he can become, there's going to only be 49 of these ever in existence, whereas all the rest of these quarterbacks have way more than that. I think that this moment has higher potential than any single one moment on the entire platform. And yeah, $8,200 low ask is nothing to scoff at. It's risen sharply recently, but I still think it's got legs to grow even more. What are your thoughts on this big $8,200 moment for Trey Lance?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And like, I think this is the exact kind of moment that maybe you hedge some risk and you go in with a friend or two.
Yes.
And like if me and you wanted to grab our friend Ryan Reynolds or something, and we have the kind of capital where let's split this 3 ways. And then when he's a Pro Bowler this year, we can decide if we want to keep it long-term, or if we're liking his outlook for a career, or if we want to just take our wins. Because yeah, for whatever reason, there was no consistency around those print runs. It is what it is. I don't think it's good or bad. It would almost be like if Prism came out and for whatever reason Trey Lance only came out in colors and refractors. It didn't have this,
right, exactly. Right? You're right.
And which would be an interesting chase, and I think it would make his pop counts lower than everything else. It would make his floor higher than everyone else's, and that's basically what we have here. And yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Obviously, still a long way to go for All Day. We don't have any rookies from this class yet. Not that it's a big quarterback class anyway, but I do think for the foreseeable future, this will likely be the highest upside moment on the site, unless Trey Lance falls flat on his face. So yeah, I mean, obviously your entry point is high. Maybe you can catch one at some point for lower than this lowest ask right now. As you see, the top sale is under what the lowest ask is right now. That's all due to the amount that exists. There are 43 that are owned, 9 for sale, and 6 that are still unopened or in unreleased packs. So looks like most people are holding right now, but keep your eye on that market if those are the streets you're swimming in, or if you want to kind of get in with a couple friends and co-invest in something like that, because I'm with you. It's something to keep your eye on for sure.
And, you made an important distinction there at the bottom of the screen with how many are owned, how many are still in packs, how many are for sale. That use that data available on the site that you have there on NFL All Day. But another good tool that OTM has as well is it shows you how many are in circulation. Going back to that Trevor Lawrence moment, for example, that was minted out at $899. 81% of those are owned. 19% of those are still in packs. When you see these really low circulation counts on some of these moments, some of them still around 50 or even below 50, just know that at some point when those packs get ripped or when those packs get sold, those moments can then flood the market and cause a shift in the current price. So always keep that in mind before you make a purchase, how many of these moments are already in circulation and how many are currently for sale. Just one note before I kick it back to you on kind of the football stuff for Trey Lance, even outside of the, minted out of $499, his debut moment, quarterback, all of the things that we look for in terms of checking boxes. Everything out of camp has been really encouraging, from his own play to Debo inking the deal to Brandon Ayuk playing really well in camp. Obviously, still have Kittle. The running back room looks amazing, as is very important, obviously, for a Kyle Shanahan-led offense. Everything just arrow pointing up for me with Trey Lance. Obviously, a darling of the fantasy and best ball community. I think people will really embrace him and look to collect in him as he goes out and finds the field. And I hope that they've got a strong start to the season, because they start with the Bears and with Seattle. You tell me Trey Lance starts 2-0 and then goes to a primetime matchup in week 3 against Russell Wilson and the Broncos in Denver. There could be a really quick, if you've got the capital to invest now, there could be a really quick turnaround option if you were interested in that early in the season, once he gets his feet wet and finally sees the field. I'm with you. If you and I could find a couple of buddies to go in on this moment together, I would absolutely do so. I wish I had $8,200 sitting around in my Dapper account right now, because I would fire on this one right away.
Yep, with you there. Yeah, it's a great point about Trey Lance. I'm curious what like his DraftKings price is by week 3.
Right.
It's something to think about for sure. Yeah, it's a great point. And I'm just curious before I go to the next one. Have you been buying at all? The pack drops that came last week, did you get involved at all with any of the all day pack drops or anything like that?
I've been so far out of touch with the NFL All Day and the NBA Top Shot and the UFC strike market. I haven't been following the Dapper stuff as closely as I know I should be, especially as a host of this podcast. So I did not get in on any of those drops. Did you find yourself in the queue for those?
I actually did. I would just happen to kind of be sitting around my computer, and I got 2 of these guys, the Rewind 2, which were Series 1. I don't think I got anything too great, but I did get a Justin Fields. Yeah, I got the Justin Fields 3 badge here. So, I not terrible. Lowest as 41. I feel pretty good about NFL All Day still as a market in general. I'm still a little bit more bullish on it than Top Shot. So, if I find myself being around when pack drops are happening, I will throw my hat in the ring for sure. So, but yeah, it's fun. Next guy I have written down. Let me see, what do I have written down here? I got an interesting guy here. Let me go to the marketplace. I'm sticking with quarterbacks.
Okay. I figured you would. I kind of figured you would. I have a couple of skill position players queued up for just in case we don't get to any of them. But I knew you'd be quarterback heavy.
I have a couple names.
Okay.
I think this one's interesting here. So, Kyler Murray, his debut moment on All Day, and there is only 3 total Kyler's on All Day right now. So it's not like there's that many out there. But if you look at the rare debut moments for, Pro Bowl level quarterbacks on the entire site, you're going to be hard pressed to find any that are under $500, let alone $400. And you see Kyler right here for his debut moment at $11.99 for $375. Looks like the average sales around 350. So I probably prefer that number, but that number feels really good to me. I'm pretty excited about early season Kyler, similar to what we saw last year, especially if he can kind of keep it going with health through week 6 when DeAndre Hopkins comes back. But they bring over Hollywood Brown, his college teammate, shower narrative going there. I think he's got a lot to prove after the disastrous playoff game, after a rough, second half to last third of the season. I think he's got a lot to prove from health-wise. He just signed the big contract. And, let's not forget how good this guy was the beginning of last season. And we talk about fantasy success, being an indicator of these types of markets. I really think especially the kind of people that are dabbling in Top Shot are like the type of people that are certainly at the very least like run-of-the-mill fantasy players that would be interested in Kyler Murray's name and kind of his highlight reel type stuff. So I think that this moment has like upwards of into the 500-600 type of floor in season, which is why I kind of looked at this as a potential target here.
Yeah, I think that's great. And looking at On the Moment, 88% of these moments are currently in circulation, just 12% of them in packs. Got a mint count of under 1,200, $375 low ask. I think that is a fantastic buy right now. We talk about the loaded AFC quarterback race and kind of the arms race there. NFC quarterback Kyler Murray, obviously getting Hollywood Brown. Hopefully they can kind of keep the ship right for DeAndre Hopkins to get healthy. But 20-1 to win MVP. I think the team stands out as a really strong team as well. So you got a couple of outs there. But I think if Kyler puts on kind of another MVP run as he did the early part of last season, you could see this thing really take a run too.
Yeah, and I think there's some positive regression coming from him from like touches around the end zone, around the goals. Like there's no way James Conner's rushing for as many touchdowns as he did last year. So there might be some higher rushing capital on him this year. And again, I think they may have lost Christian Kirk, but you bring in Marquise Brown. I think we're expecting a lot more out of second-year player Rondale Moore. It sounds like Cliff Kingsbury wants to use him in a more advanced role than he did last year. I'm really excited about James Conner's second year in Arizona as well, and really excited to see him connect back with Hollywood Brown. We saw how how great Zach Ertz was as, a middle of the field target for him when he came over midseason in a trade. So I really like their skill positions. As you mentioned, NFC looks like a place to possibly invest over AFC right now with kind of the crowded room there. So yeah, man, I'm not in love with Kyler Murray overall, long-term career-wise, but I think short-term and, over the next 3 or 4 years while he's still in his prime, I still think there's room there as long as his head's in the right place, which again, I think it, supposedly is. I think he's got a lot to prove. So
you just have to watch out for those Call of Duty, Call of Duty drops, right?
Exactly.
I'm going to keep it with the quarterback position. I'm going to go back to last year's rookies. That's kind of been a theme for me and really where I'm looking. This is kind of an obvious, buy the dip, injury dip situation, if you will, but I'm going Zach Wilson. Still very much bullish on his outlook, still very much bullish on this offense. The loss of Mekhi Becton, obviously not great for this team, but you have the addition of Garrett Wilson in the draft. I love Elijah Moore. I love Corey Davis. I think they have a really talented wide receiver core. They had Breece Hall in the backfield. And this is kind of a complete difference of the moments that I was just looking at that were, hundreds and thousands of dollars. This is a moment that as I alluded to, was out of 10,000. This is his rookie debut moment. Right now, low ask of $39, $40. I think it just went up to $40, but you can compare that to Justin Fields, who has got a low ask right now of $41. Davis Mills, who has a low ask of $41, and then Mac Jones with the same mint count of 10,000 all the way up at $65. I don't have any illusions here. I know why I'm purchasing this. I don't think this is a long-term hold. I don't want to be holding something that's got a mint count of 10,000 long-term. The bottom could potentially fall out with that much in circulation, but I think that this has got a little bit of room to dip. It's down 22% over the last 7 days. I think as the other players that we're interested in start to take the field for the regular season, I think this moment could drop even lower. Maybe I get this moment at $33, $34, $35. He comes back. Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore look fantastic in his first couple of games back. Maybe that thing goes back up to $45, $50. I'm happy taking my profits off the table at that point. If I can stack up a couple of these, I think it's just a quick opportunity to flip. But I do think that this is going to drop as that bone bruise / meniscus repair has him sidelined for 4 to 6 weeks. It sounds like I think this is going to drop even further. So keeping my eye out right now, hoping to find it around 35. I don't know if it'll go much lower than that, but if I can get it there and sell it right around 50 when he takes the field again with this offense that I think is going to be much improved, I would be happy with that type of flip. But it is completely speculative. I would not hold this very long term.
Yeah, no, and what I like about it is that there's 5,000 out there that are owned right now, another 1,000 that are still hidden or in packs or whatever, and only 174 on the marketplace. So it's not like the marketplace is completely flooded with inventory here. So I do like that. While that's kind of staying around $35, $40, no issues there at all. We mentioned last week that we were really upset that they lost Mekhi Becton. They did the absolute best thing that they could have done and go sign Dwayne Brown to kind of reshore up that offensive line. I think he still has some good football left in him. Obviously, perennial all-pro tackle for most of his career. So, I still think that, let's assume the knee injury seemed to be okay. He might miss a week or two of the regular season, but still somewhat bullish on this Jets offense overall.
Ironically, the play that's playing on your screen right now is a scramble, which is his debut moment, is the same type of play that he got injured on. So just some irony there.
Totally. Absolutely. Totally. All right. I'll go off quarterbacks here. I got a couple names, both one really low end and one kind of mid tier that I looked up just from a general place. So I think we talk about it. This could be a place where defensive players shine a little bit. One name that I have listed down here, and I don't know if you were going to talk about it before, I'm not going to bring it up as one of my buys right now, but I think watching the Micah Parsons, $550 moment, I believe, is somewhat interesting. I'll throw it up as kind of an honorable mention here. Potentially generational type of defensive talent, free badge, minted out of only 700, first rookie. There's a legendary there, as you can see as well, but lowest ask 554, which is below the average sale of 570. It's just an absolute monster sack on Tyler Heineke while he was also being held. It's a fun clip. So I guess I am kind of touting this one. I'm a little scared of doing the defensive buying thing at this type of level with these kind of in the mid triple digits. But hey, again, we talk about the Cowboys. We talk about the explosiveness that he has, the closest thing to LT maybe that we've had in a long time. I don't hate that buy at all. I definitely don't hate that buy. But the guy, I was going to go with something under $100. So I like JJ Watt a little bit here. And there's TJ Watt on the site also, which I think is a little bit more expensive. But JJ Watt, which is debut moment, there's only one on the entire site. So it's his debut moment. Obviously, you almost would hope that it was one of those flashback moments of him being with Houston when he was just, my God, just dominating the entire league. But we're talking about a guy here that's probably going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, an all decade type defender, just an absolute force at his peak. His brother obviously kind of taking over that right now, but you're looking at $80 for one of the best defensive players of the last 15 years, out of $1,000. These are kind of what I'm looking for. Only 38 for sale, and you're still around $80. It's just kind of what I'm looking for. If I am to invest in a defensive player, it has to be a surefire Hall of Famer. If it's able to be their debut moment, even better. So it's just kind of, it matches my thesis of what I'd be looking for.
I love it. I'm gonna keep it on the defensive side of the ball here as well, because I did write down one defensive name that kind of stood out to me as well, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. A little bit more rich than I would like for defensive player, and still a young guy, but looks like, and I just kind of pulled up defensive player of the year odds, and I'm looking at debut moments for Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, Aaron Donald, TJ Watt, Nick Bosa, and the guy that I'm most interested in, Joey Bosa. Has a mint count of 699. 82% of those moments are in circulation, and a low ask right now of 160, which has been relatively flat recently. He's got the sixth best odds, 20-1 on DraftKings Sportsbook to win Defensive Player of the Year. And I love this Chargers team. We've talked all offseason about the additions that the Chargers made, on both sides of the ball, and re-signing Mike Williams on the offensive side, and some of the stuff that they did to shore up their defense as well, which includes signing Derwin James just today to a deal. So I love Joey Bosa. I love the Chargers. The $160 moment for a mint count of 699 seems like it's got some room to grow if he does make a run for Defensive Player of the Year, or if he just happens to be wreaking havoc in the playoffs with the Chargers team that I think is going to be really, really good this year.
This moment also has the extra, juice behind it, in that you get to see Drew Lock kind of get his face shoved into the ground by Joey Bosa, which I do believe carries a premium in the hobby. So
is this not just the most Joey Bosa moment, and also in the same breath the most Drew Lock moment of all time?
It really is.
It's just Joey Bosa lowering his head into Drew Lock, and Drew Lock catching an awkward pass and falling a yard
coming
short
up a yard short of the end zone.
It's almost just the perfect moment.
All right, I'm gonna buy it right now. No, I'm just kidding. It is very funny. I like that call. I like the Bosas. I like the Watts. Those are the kind of guys, and the Barsons. Like, those are the guys I'm looking for on this site for sure. Von Miller too. I don't know what kind of stuff he has, but those are the kind of guys that I'd be certainly interested in on the defensive side of the ball. Even more than corners. Like, I think Jalen Ramsey has some interesting stuff on here, but like, there's something about the pass rushers that really speak to me from a hobby perspective.
Yeah, and we talked about this with Ryan when All Day first came out, and kind of questioned what these markets would look like. And I think the clips do really play well in this format versus the physical format with just a static image on a piece of cardboard. I think that you can kind of see them in action, and that's meaningful. And as to your point on defensive ends, linebackers, guys that create pressure and force sacks, those are the guys that I think play well. And it kind of is like a direct correlation with the Defensive Player of the Year market. All the guys at the top of the board are the guys that we mentioned: Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Aaron Donald, Micah Parsons, Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, Chase Young. These are the guys that I think will get the most love, and they're kind of the most talked about as well. Yeah, you've got the Derwin Jameses in there. You've got the Jalen Ramseys of the world in there as well. But I think if you are trying to invest in this side of the ball, that I would start with these edge guys that can create sacks.
Yeah, and you even see it like in the regular market. I don't have numbers in front of me right now, but I know that, the JJ Watt type guys, TJ Watt, Von Miller sell better than like even Troy Polamalu, Ed Reed. Like, if we're just comparing apples to apples, right? Generational pass rushers versus generational safeties. The pass rushers are the ones that people want more, for sure. I'll go to one skill position guy here. And it was, again, same type of thing like I was looking for with Kyler. I'm looking for certain like 3-badge stuff within a tier that isn't just a common, that, is at the bottom of the range of prices that I'd have to pay for someone that I believe is going to have a really strong career. So kind of off the beaten path, but I was just watching actually last night's episode of Hard Knocks, and maybe that's what threw me over to this range. But
oh baby,
not too many 3 badges. with the rare that are going to be around this $200 mark. But you look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, also the lowest ask, about $10 under the average sale. I am all in on Amon-Ra's, late season run being a real thing. I think the guy has the goods. He's also the kind of guy that I think will have a really long career. So because he keeps his body right, as we saw in Hard Knocks.
Right.
But like also just, I think he's durable, could play inside or out. Could be a safety blanket receiver, but also could have a really high ADOT as well. And just the kind of, all three levels of the offense can be effective. Really like what his career outlook's going to look like. Let's hopefully get that Lions team an even better quarterback than Jared Goff at some point over here the next couple of years. But just, again, I don't love spending $200 necessarily on a receiver, but for a 3-badge rare, you're not going to find anything better than this for anybody from that receiver class last year. And he's still one of the top 5 or 6 guys in one of the all-time great receiver classes. So I like Amon-Ra quite a bit.
All right, I gotta close this out. None of us have mentioned a giant yet, and I didn't know if you would or not, but I got to get us out of here on a giant. It is not going to be Daniel Jones. It is not going to be Daniel Jones, but I am going to mention Kadarius Toney from the skill position. I like the way that this sets up for a quick flip, and I know I've mentioned a few flips here as well, but looking at these rookie moments for these wide receivers, his is minted out of 10,000, which I normally wouldn't like. 79% of them are currently in circulation. That I do like. The price is what really got me. $14 right now for the low ask of this moment, his 3-badge rookie from last season. You kind of look at the king of this class from a rookie perspective, minted out of 10,000. Obviously, it's Jamar Chase all the way up at $119. But then it kind of drops down precipitously to Jalen Waddle, who's going for $24 as a low ask right now. Devonta Smith, who's going for $20. Amon-Ra St. Brown, your guy, going for $17. And then Elijah Moore for $16. I think that the start of Kadarius Toney's season this year in this Brian Daboll offense, with Kenny Golladay kind of looking like a mess, Wan'Dale Robinson seemingly locked in as the 3rd wide receiver, but still kind of an unknown. I think they're being really smart with Kadarius Toney's offseason training camp and really ramping him up slowly so he's prepared for the regular season. And maybe you can talk a little bit more about that. But I again, no illusions of where this moment's going and what my plans are to do with it. I don't expect it to be a $120 moment like Jamar Chase's is, but I think it should be closer to that Jalen Waddle than De'Ami Brown, who's going for $9 right now. I think that this has somewhere to go between $18 and $20, maybe $20 and $24. And if I scoop up a couple of them now, he has a good start to his season this year, sophomore season this year. I can offload a couple of those for a quick profit as well. $14 for Kadarius Toney's 3-badge rookie. What are your thoughts on that moment?
Take a look at my screen. There are my thoughts.
Baby, there we go. There it is.
If you were watching on YouTube while Cody was going on there, I went and purchased one of these for $14. Yeah, I mean, I love Kadarius Toney. He's one of my top 5 highest owned best ball players, and it's not even my bias there. That was me taking him when he was, around pick 110 ADP. The guy goes around 75 to 80 right now. It's all about health for him. Locker room loves him, by the way, like super charismatic. People like him being around. All about staying healthy. I mean, the elusiveness is like something we've never seen before. The like really, really exciting. And he passed the eye test, which is the kind of thing that I also like to really sign up for on all day. I mean, the moments will be a lot of fun. So, I mean, I won't even see what this moment even looks like. I didn't even look at it. I just saw, $14 for my Duke Kadarius. Oh, this was the throw.
Yep.
Yeah, which we also like a lot. So yeah, I mean, but super, super elusive, stop on a dime type guy. So I'm excited about Toney, excited about Daboll and what he could do. I know reports out of Giants camp aren't super positive right now. And again, I'm not looking for anything crazy from this Giants team. I just want to see a modern NFL offense, and Kadarius Toney's my guy. So,
I think just thinking about this now, 10 moments at $14 is $140. De'Ami Brown, who I don't even know if De'Ami Brown's still in the NFL at this point. Sorry, De'Ami, if you are. And I know every depth chart like the back of my hand. So this was bad that I don't even know if he's in the NFL anymore.
He's still in Washington, I think. But,
okay, well, good for him. His moment is $9 right now. His low ask right now for the same 10,000 mint count 3-badge rookie. I feel like that my floor here, my worst case scenario is Kadarius Toney isn't healthy or looks terrible, and I buy 10 moments, my $140 investment goes to 90. So That's better than some of the other investments that I've made. So I feel like that there's a really high floor here, that pretty low risk at the $14 low ask right now. And like I said, if I can get it up towards that Jalen Waddle $24 range, I feel pretty good about taking a little bit of profits off the table at that point.
Yep, I think that's a really good thesis. So we gave you everything. We gave you a $14 moment up through an $8,000 moment as things that we see as value, which basically tells you that we still believe in NFL all day. I'm excited to track it throughout the season. I'm excited to see some of these new moments come out. And I'm still involved in the pack drops. I hope all of you guys are enjoying it as well. Hopefully you enjoyed a little NFT episode from us, because I know we could say pretty cardboard heavy. Cody, I wanted to hit a couple sales quickly from this past week in the regular cardboard streets. Or at least kind of auctions to monitor on the very high end. So we're going to keep it on the Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance side of things. One, Trevor Lawrence's black 1/1 finite prism was on alt auction last week. There's always the big debate. Do you grade 1/1s, or do you just kind of get them encapsulated because you want them to be authenticized or whatever? This one was a PSA 6. Doesn't matter. I mean, it shouldn't matter, right? And I don't think it really did, because the card sold for $150,000, I believe. $150,000 for the PSA 6. This is not even the signed 1/1, just the regular 1/1 Prism rookie. So kind of sets the bar for his card, his Chrome based rookie cards. It's a really high number. People are still buying Trevor Lawrence in spades. And then similarly on Golden right now, we have his best possible card, in my opinion, which is his National Treasures Shield autograph. It's a Beckett 8 out of 10. So also, once again, 8 with a 10 autograph. So once again, didn't necessarily grade out. Doesn't really matter. Has an opening bid, had an opening bid of 100,000, has climbed to 190,000. I don't know when it is ending. I'm trying to find that out right now. I'm guessing it's going to be end of month. I'm guessing it's their premium August auction or whatever, elite August auction. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see that card get into 300-400 grand range. It looks like the next bid has to be over 200,000. So Trevor Lawrence selling very, very well. So is Trey Lance. Trey Lance is flawless Shield auto. So maybe it's like best or second best card, currently ungraded, is at the PWCC August Premier auction, currently around $100,000. I think it's at $95,000 right now. I'd expect that card to go for at least $150,000, if not more. So the high end on these guys is living up to the hype. We'll see if their on-field performance matches it, but somebody's either going to feel really good or really bad by like week 8 of this year.
I think that's the biggest takeaway, is that high-end collectors and investors are still very much speculating on these guys and expecting, hopefully, big returns in their sophomore seasons. And I think good reason to expect them for both of these guys and a lot of the rookies in this class as well. Hopefully we can say positive things about Justin Fields and Zach Wilson in the weeks and years to come, but it doesn't look as nearly as positive as it does for Trey Lance and Trevor Lawrence, who seem to kind of be the two darlings of this class at this point.
Yep, would definitely agree with that. Mac Jones does too.
Well,
I think
Mac Jones.
It's the three of them. It's just the Mac's like in that weird territory where the hype got on him in his rookie year, and he was like really the only one of the four in which it did. So we kind of have to look at him from a different lens. But all the reports out of New England are really positive on Mac Jones. He's gotten in better shape. I think supposedly they're going to let him air it out a little bit more this year. So I would expect them to still be pretty run heavy with Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson, but I completely understand being in on the Mac Jones hype. He hasn't been a buy for me for what his numbers have been, but I have no problem if he is a buy for you out there, if you think he's going to be, a 15-year Pro Bowl type starter. So
he feels like the 3 condom play of the class, as Levitan would say, with Trevor Lawrence and Trey Lance, these kind of mega ceiling, mega upside guys, even Justin Fields, Zach Wilson to some degree. And maybe that's just the bias in me, but Mac Jones certainly feels like the 3 condom play of the group.
No, he totally does, and the play on Mac Jones is he's putting up good numbers right now. He's in a big market, and I guess the investment thesis is that he's going to win Super Bowls, right? And if you think he's going to win Super Bowls, it doesn't really matter. He doesn't have the legs and the high, the super pop and spark from a film perspective, because he's sound and he's poised, and he could be Aaron Rodgers or it could be Tom Brady. I'm not saying he is. I don't think he's going to be, but I guess that is the investment thesis on Mac Jones, right? So.
Well, this was a good refresher. I feel like we have missed NFL All Day. Hopefully NFL All Day missed us as much as we missed it. We'll try and keep it in the lexicon more often as we go forward here. Heading into football season, we'll kind of keep an eye on those cards, moments that we mentioned on today's show, and see how returns look over the next couple of weeks and months as we get into the regular season. I did want to mention before we leave today. Gary offered up 3 separate lots anchored by Justin Herbert rookie cards last week. We got quite a few reviews and screenshots. We appreciate you guys doing that. We're going to let that run one more week. So if you haven't yet, Gary, you can listen back to episode 50 where Gary mentioned the cards that he'll be giving away. 3 separate lots anchored by Justin Herbert and 2020 rookie quarterbacks. So go back and listen. Make sure you rate, review the show wherever you listen to it, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That is the fastest growing YouTube channel in the sports collectible space that is named Establish the Collection. So do not forget to do both of those things. Send Gary or myself a screenshot and let us know that you have helped the show out, and we will get you entered into that drawing, which we will do on next week's episode 52. For Gary, I'm Cody. We'll see you guys next week.
Take care, everybody.